the penultimate match of the tournament. And how important is it, folks? It's match number 55. It's massive. It's huge. It's Delhi against Bangalore. It's winner takes all. It's a fabulous scenario, and everything has been determined by the numbers that have changed over the weekend in terms of net run rate. Delhi and Bangalore were both severely dented. So it's not just their net run rate, their egos will have been dented, and their confidence will have been dented. In the context of that, Sean Pollock, how big a game is this?
That's absolutely huge. So what's on the line? First of all, you can qualify as one of the top two, which gives you a second bite of the cherry if you do have an off game, against Mumbai. And then the other end is that you could actually miss out on the playoffs. I mean, that is the reality of it. You could end up second, or you could miss out altogether, depending on how things turn out. So it's huge. There'll be a lot of jockeying for position. If you're going to lose, then you don't want to lose by much, because then you stay ahead of KKR and then you do qualify through. So there's going to be a lot to think about for both teams. And I think you're going to, as you mentioned, with regards to the pride, I think it'll be a case in point of both management groups sitting down with their teams and saying, listen, we've got to start playing better cricket, but better cricket that's going to take us further in this tournament, further that's going to take us into the knockout stage, and that's the kind of quality we're looking to produce. They can't afford to be too nervous going into this match. They've got to back themselves and believe that they can still go all the way.
Well, I can tell you, these numbers that we're showing you will probably not be put up as posters in the respective dressing rooms because they don't want to be looking back at LLLL in the last 4 for Delhi and LLL in the last 3 for Bangalore. So they'll be saying fresh start, clean slate, whatever color of the walls it might be in that dressing room, let's look ahead.
Absolutely. I think they'll be looking ahead, and I think it's very interesting. It's fascinating now because this is actually the most important match now in the tournament, because whoever comes gets 2 bites of the cherry. You win, you get 2 bites of the cherry. You lose, you could be out of the tournament. So it's a very, very big swing. There's no match which has had as big a swing as this match will do. And I'm looking at those teams and saying, which is the more experienced group of staff and which is the most experienced group of players? Because this now is a situation which is just going to test that. Your experience, your ability to soak in pressure and deliver. And these are very big games.
What it also means is it's probably that will test the team. So, for example, if Bangalore bat first and score 170, Delhi will then have 2 targets. One is, of course, 171. The other is, assuming they've lost a few wickets, they'll probably need to get about 148, just for the sake of argument, something around those numbers to qualify anyway. And in those kind of situations, things can get a little bit tight and a little bit iffy if you've lost wickets. So it's going to be fun in games come what may. So let's have a quick look at the squads and see if we need any possible changes, given, we don't want to disturb winning combinations, but both these teams are coming off 7 losses, cumulatively speaking. Delhi first, Sean, any possible changes you see here?
Yeah, we'll discuss the change. I just want to say that I was once involved in a World Cup game against India.
I was going to bring that up. I didn't want to.
We had to get a certain score to qualify and then a certain score to win. It's not a nice scenario to be in. You must rather just have one thing to focus on. But,
I didn't want to bring it up. You did. That's fine.
Yeah, the Delhi team, I just think at the top of the order now, you've had Ajinkya Rahane come in for a few games. And I'm pretty sure go back up front. Who you're going to settle on. And I think I would stick with Shaw and say, listen, you're the man for the rest of the tournament. It doesn't actually matter what happens. Back yourself, go out there and play with some confidence. But there's a lot of that top 5 that really hasn't produced in the last 3 or 4 games. But it really is not the time to panic. You got to keep running with them and stick with the same bowling attack, I would think as well. I think Dubey would be lucky to hold his place. Axar Patel, the experience, I think, at these times of the tournament, I think they need to get him back into the mix. I think that would be the only change I'd be looking to make on that side.
Absolutely. I completely agree. The only player who'd walk in for me is Axar Patel. And Axar Patel has a proven record of actually also delivering very, very good temperament in a player, delivering when the chips are down, when he's really needed. So Axar for Dubey, no matter what the pitch is, how much it favors leg spinners. See, you can't drop Ashwin because he's also a competitor. I would bring my best, most experienced players in, because remember one more thing. This is a young Delhi side. Even their international cricketers though they are very good cricketers. I mean, you take a Rabada or a Stoynes, they're young guys. They're not the Steve Smith, Owen Morgan level of experience or a Kane Williamson level of experience. These are young guys. So Akshar Patel is an experienced guy. They need as much experience there because crunch matches are a lot about experience as well.
Yeah, interesting. You don't always look at it from that point of view. You always sort of mentally think overseas player means experienced player. But yeah, Delhi have some of the young guns in their side, and Akshar, not a bad guy to get when the chips are down, especially given the fact that being a vegetarian, chips are what he eats most of the time. So we'll get him back in there. Okay, that was my bad one for the weekend. I'm allowed one for the weekend. I hadn't had any bad ones. Fair enough. Coming from a hardcore non-vegetarian, it just has to be a little funnier than the rest. But what about Bangalore? They too had a few selection issues in their last couple of games. Remember Josh Philippe, who featured early on in the tournament, then because of the loss of form to Aaron Finch, he's pushed his way in. Do you see him still sticking in there? Or again, do you go for the experience of someone like a Finch, Sean Pollock?
Yeah, even throw Moeen Ali into the mix. I think he might come back in place of Ndana. Felipe, I think it will be a point of discussion. He's shown a bit of something, but if you're talking about experience, you're talking about a massive match, you're talking about a bowling attack that he would be able to deal with regards to the pace that Delhi, the Capitals, present. They may just decide, listen, we've given Felipe a chance. He's done sort of okay, but we're going to go back to the experience of Finch. I think that could be the call. I would probably, if you had to say to me, I had to make the decision on my own here tonight, I'd go Finch and I'd bring Moeen Ali back in.
I completely.
Fair enough. And you can see, Joy, with even Sean Pollock in, that if he doesn't even mention a certain Dale Steyn, that it's just a season he'd want to forget. There's there are a lot of singers who sing beyond their salad days, and they're no longer as tuneful as they used to be, and you hear their old songs and you wonder why these guys still singing. They're ruining their memories. I do not want to remember Dale Steyn with long hair, that terrible haircut, and getting hammered and smiling sheepishly as batsmen who 5 years back would have trembled in their boots to watch him bowl it. I feel for him. You feel for to see Steyn out there like that.
Yeah, shame. It's never nice to see a person at the back end of their career, and particularly, and this is probably the most brutal format. For anyone of his stature, there's no one who's given you an opportunity to find your rhythm or get away with a few dot deliveries. They're out there to put you under pressure. So I think he was also coming off those 6 months, not really much cricket under the belt. He's found the going a bit tough. So I'd be very surprised if he was considered for this vital game.